During this Kirtan, I want you to just listen. To see all the artery thode samjhne and try to understand what is being said. If not, ਅਸੀਂ ਥੋੜੇ ਖੋਲ ਕੇ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ. We're going to speak openly about what this concept means. But that's the thing we hear all over the time.
Can you see the full screen?
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
अब तू नाही अब तू ही मैं नाही जब हम होते तब तू नाही अब तू ही मैं नाही तुम जैसे लहर में उछल एक सिंहासन सोया सुपने पया भिखारी सुपने पया भिखारी सुपने पया भिखारी अचुराज विचरत दुख पाया सुगत भई सुगत भई हमारी राजपुयंग संग जैसे है अब किस्मत मचनाया कर्द कटक जैसे फूल पले जैसे फूल पले अब कहते कैन आया सर्वे एक अनेक स्वामी सब घट भोगवे सोई सब घट भोगवे सोई हाथ में मेरे हाथ में मेरे सहजे होए सोई सहजे होए सोई सहजे होए सोई सहजे होए सोई भैरवदास हाथ पे भैरवदास हाथ पे मेरे सहजे होए सोई सहजे होए सोई सहजे होए सोई सहजे होए सोई माधुरे क्या करिए प्रभु ऐसा जैसा मानिए होए न पैसा जैसा मानिए होए न पैसा क्या करिए प्रभु ऐसा जब हम होके तब तू नहीं मैं नहीं मैं नहीं जैसे लहर में
So beautifully sung by Hajuri Ragi, Bhai Singh, Patiala. So the way that I want to introduce this is that everyone can introduce themselves and kind of say something about this Bhakti here. If you don't want to share anything and you just want to say, I don't know, that's how it is well. So just share your name and maybe what program you're in, and that's about it. So maybe you want to start from this side of the room and go across. If you don't know, if you didn't really make anything of the show, that's all you can say. Skip or I don't know.
Okay. My name is Manjit Singh. I'm studying engineering and I'm going to skip now.
Skip. All right. What year you're in?
Third year.
Third year. Okay.
My name is Singh. I'm in third year and environmental studies. About this monkey, I think kind of thought about kind of like thinking of blue side instead of myself.
Okay. Thank you.
My name is Sir Singh. I'm in third year of accounting and finance, and I think this monkey is like the world as a whole and how we're too worried about worldly things, and so confusion.
Good. Good. Yeah.
My name's Tanjot Kaur. I'm in my third year of math. I'm gonna skip.
You're skip. Okay.
Yeah, my name is Manveer. I'm in my 3A term of computer science here at Waterloo.
My name is Norbert Singh. Also third year accounting and finance like Sarup. In terms of the Punkti, I think similar to what Sarup said earlier, basically Mara just kind of telling us that like the world is like almost an illusion. That's kind of like what I got to learn.
All right.
My name is Jaskaran Kaur. I'm in third year computer science, and from this Punkti, basically what everyone else said too, what you can take away is that it's just about realizing that like Maharaj, like whatever we think about this world, it's not that. It's something way bigger that's not even ourselves, and that's what the whole Shabad itself discovers.
Okay. We'll go here and then we'll go to the back.
My name is Callum Singh.
Okay.
I'm in second year music student at Loria, and I'm going to skip for now.
Okay. So you guys came a bit late, but if you want to, we're just explaining what the Punkti is and some information about ourselves as well.
So my name is Harpreet Singh, and I'm in fourth year and I'm studying life sciences. I'm going to skip for now.
Sure.
My name is Saptal Singh. I'm in third year studying justice studies. I'm going to skip for now.
Sure.
My name is Sikhi Singh. I'm in my third year of engineering. For the Bhakti, I only recognize a few words. I know Mania means like to accept.
Self-work at math, and I'm going to skip. My name is Taj Bikor. I'm fourth year science student, and what I take away from the talk is never judge a book by its cover.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Mo. I'm first year in Ken, and I'm just going to skip.
Okay. So the whole point of this discussion, and I do want it to be a discussion, I don't want it to be like just me talking for like an hour or so, is to learn and unlearn Sikhi. This entire Punkti, we look at it, Madhave, kya kahiya Param aisa? And Maharaj, what can we say is that Param, that Param, that doubt, the illusion, as some of you might have said? We see the translation, sometimes even some of the words that we see in the translations, they have different meanings for us. So what can we even say about this Param? Jaisa manya hoy na taisa. Just like you said, the way that we perceive it to be, it's not actually like that. when all of you walked through that door, or maybe the door in the back, you all had a different idea of what this room was going to look like. Some people might have walked in and be like, oh, today I'm going to hang out with some friends. Galla thode gappa marunge, wo irada sa bhi kar denge, thode gappa bhi kar denge, right? We're going to talk a little bit on the side, we're going to chat, and we're also going to do irada sa, right? Some of you might have been like, I'm nervous. I'm going into a room full of people I don't know. Some of you might come into the room and say, what am I doing on, what's today, Tuesday night? Might as well just come here. Some of you, I know you're going through exams as well. You might be thinking, you're probably studying in the back of your head instead, right? We're all coming from these different perspectives. Taken from the time you were born to the time now. For some of you, it's like 18, 19, some of you, it's 20, 21, whatever your age might be. All of those experiences you're walking the room with right now. That's a key thing to know. Because that's what this entire thing is about. I'm not teaching you anything here. I'm not telling you something new. What we want to be is but just the perspective of looking at it being different. That's the key thing. It's been the same throughout. It's always remained the same. We want to at least start looking at it in a different manner. And that's the whole point of this. You're not learning something new here. So So you might have heard some of the punktis that came after in the same shabad. Does anyone know what they're speaking about there?
The punkti that comes before is Jab tum hote tab mein nahi, and it's basically saying that when I'm in ego or when I'm in some kind of vigar, that means you're not with me, like Manoj isn't with me. And once I'm away from that vigar, once I am like, not that I've conquered it, but once I'm trying to conquer it, that means that you're closer to me and that you are doing good by helping me.
So jab hum hote tab tu nahi. Ab tu hi aur main nahi, right? Or I might have butchered it, but Maharaj is saying that when it's me, when I exist here, then you don't exist. Maharaj is right now. We say this every single day in our job side. Guru mere sang sada hai naal. Or we say Guru mere sang sada hai naal is in a different punkti, but Maharaj is saying sada anga sange, right? Maharaj us waqt vi sade naal hai. Sade bhra mein we're in a doubt that we think Maharaj is somewhere else. There's one very good talk that was had by, if you know Nanak Naam, by Satpal Singh. He's saying, don't imagine God as some Mr. God in the heavens, in the sky somewhere. Maharaj is with us right now. You might think, how? There's a shout for that too. Nikita suno ar pekho nahi. That I've heard that Maharaj, you're nearby, but I've never seen it myself with my own eyes. This is the different type of vichar that we want to have. Change your perspective on looking at Gurdwani. Imagine what I said before. Every single experience you had is what you're bringing to the room today. The times, whatever the way that your parents raised you, the bad experiences, the good experiences, you're bringing them to the room, and you're going to perceive everything that you have in life. You perceive a TV show in a certain way because of what you watched as a child. You look at certain faces may someone kid on the other day. You might look at someone's face and be like, oh, this guy is like, he doesn't look like he's nice. You might look at someone and be like, oh, what young guy. Not even having a conversation with them. You're saying that this person is so nice. It's because you might have seen someone that looks similar to that when you're a child. This is the way that the world works. This is how we have this individualized perception. We're all different from each other. So, I heard everything about you, but I want to ask you about this guy. So you could move to the next slide. Who is this? Who's the guy standing in front of a Ferrari at the auto show here? Do any of you know him? Yeah?
Is it the younger version of you?
Oh.
Thank you.
Is it you?
Yeah, it is me. It's me in this is probably 2013, 2014, when I was in grade 12. So you might have, this is all about learning and unlearning. You might have saw me, hear me do Rara Sahib, and they were like, pata nahi keda Singh hai, pata nahi kede vidyalaya to padhya hai. Or maybe some people be like, eh, kaun hai? Eh, mainu janda nahi hai. Some people might walk like this too, right? But 5 or 6 years ago, this was me. I'm not using this as a way to be like, oh yeah, dekho, kinna charti ka. No. It's just saying that the way that you might have thought about me, that's not how I actually am. The same way that you might have all these misperceptions of me, you might have of Gurban, you might have of Sikhi. Your family, again, your family has given you these values, right? They've made you different from other people. Your friends have made you different from other people. All of these factors come into our connection with Maharaj. You might be further, you might be closer because of all these different things. Oh yeah, go to the next. So scenario, देखो, समझो कि मैंने कोई अंग्रेजी आउंदी नहीं हैगी, आपने पता नहीं कि लिखिया, right? That's just, we're going through a scenario. इत्थे की लिखिया, लगदा BOW एक ही हुंदा. Can someone tell me what this means? Yeah? You seem like... Were you going to answer? Yeah?
No, I was thinking.
Oh, okay, I thought you raised your hand. कोई तो दसो, मैं तो अनपढ़ है, मुझे पता नहीं कि लिखिया. I don't understand what it says. Tell me. It's not a trick question, by the way. अच्छा, BOW मतलब कि अपना सिर नीवा करना, ठीक है. Any other answers? You don't have to like think up with like ask the person beside you. It's a very simple question. But
Use with an arrow.
अच्छा, like shastra चलाया जाना, ठीक है. Okay. Anything else?
ਜਿਹੜਾ ਰੀਬਨ ਬੰਨਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ
अच्छा, रीवन की ਹੁੰਦਾ ਭਾਈ?
ਫੀਤਿਆਂ ਨਾਲ ਯੂਜ਼ਲੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ
ਅੱਛਾ
ਕਿ ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਨਾ ਪਾ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਬ੍ਰੇਕ ਕਰਕੇ
ठीक है
ਇੰਗਲਿਸ਼ ਵਿੱਚ ਬੋਲਦੇ
अच्छा वो कहते हैं. अच्छा, so you all give me different answers, right? Someone said the action of bowing, right? Because I didn't pronounce the word. I just pointed at it. Someone said it's like a bow. Someone said it's like a bow, right? There's 3 different things. I'll go to the next one. Now, if you open up on your phone, if you have an iPhone or whatever, you have these emojis here. They all are the same thing. The front of a boat is called a bow. Someone going down like this, namaskar karta, that's a bow. Someone has a bow and arrow, that's also a bow. And then the bow, the pink bow right there. See, it's one thing, but we're seeing it from different angles. We can look at Gurbani in the same way. So this whole thing that we all come from different perspectives, huh? Go to the next slide. Now, all of you are in an academic environment. If you're in arts, if you're writing essays and things like that, you always have to state in the beginning, this is a potential bias that I have writing this paper, right? These terms are biases, right? And we all look at things differently. At least in the academic sphere, that's what it's like. So kidra, your location, your family, friends, culture, age, human body, whatever, right? If like, for example, I don't want to use this example, but it's like, say for example, so like 2 white kids are like making out, right? We'd be like, right? So that's just something that's affected by our culture, right? It's something that differentiates with us. It's not saying that there's good or bad, eventually there's things to take away and to receive in this. But the thing is, by the end of the day, your location, where you're living. So, for example, if tomorrow the Detroit Pistons, lost the championship, right? People in Toronto wouldn't care as much. If the Toronto Raptors lost, if we lived in like when I went to BC and the Singhs over there, I was laughing at them because they had like the Stanley Cup riots a few years ago. So I'm like, it's hard to come here, right? It's the differentiation happened there. I said, you guys are separate. I am here. I'm Toronto wala hai, कि तुसी BC वाले हैं. जब कोई इंडिया तो when someone comes from India, a student है मैं इत्थे दा जाऊँ पर I'm born here, right? There's a differentiation that happens there. That creates this division between us because of your location, your family. If you had all sisters like me, that has a huge impact on the way that I live in my life, the way that I treat certain people in a certain way. If I had all brothers, I'd be very, roughhousing type of mentality, right? These type of things are real. They all influence us. Our friends as well, right? This is one thing I said. If you grew up being bullied, if you grew up being popular, whatever the case may be, those things will influence how you see the world. They influence our relationships, our habits, and lifestyles. The person that got bullied over and over again, he picked up the bottle. he picked up his crack pipe. You know, whatever you want to say, right? The person that had many friends, they picked up the crack pipe and the bottle for different reasons. So this is one thing. The human body. Why do I write human body? The perspective of a dog is different than that of a human. If I go to my dog and say like, "Chalnu Japji Sahib Suna," he's gonna look at me like he's gonna bark in my face, right? If I tell that to like to a Punjabi guy, he'll be like, "Oh sorry, veer mainu aandi nahi hegi," right? So these type of things, these biases, right? And I'm not saying they're good or bad. What I'm saying is that they do affect us, and they do affect how we pick up Sikhi. Imagine this. The bias in the academic sphere is called like bias, right? So these differentiations, for example, if someone's family was into Sikhi, right? And then they went to the Gurdwara, they go to the Gurdwara often, they're in that Sangat environment. That pre-existing thing that their family was into Sikhi helped them get there, right? For some people, it's their friends. All their friends are vegetarian, then they became vegetarian. All their friends ate meat, then they ate meat. All their friends, watch basketball, they started watching basketball. These type of things start to make an impact to us, right? So these biases, for example, there might be a bias, like your family's really cuttered into Sikhi, or really strict, and then because of that, you actually backed away from Sikhi. I've seen that in a lot of different families. I've seen that within Christians as well. The families were staunch Christians, and then what happens is the kids saw that in their life, and they're like, once they got a little bit of freedom, they left it all. It happens in a lot of council school as well. Kids go to council school, and then as soon as they go to public school, and then he's like, yo, forget this, right? This is reality. This is what happens. But the thing is, how will we change the name for this bias? What are these different things that make us who we are, that they're so individual from us? Go to the next slide. Maharaj says, Karmi apo apni ke neda ke dur. Because of your karams, you're either placed closer to Maharaj or placed further away. There are reasons why some of your friends may not be into Sikhi. There might be some reason why some of you are more closer to Sikhi and some are further away. It's like an entire web that has been created. The reason why we're in this room together, all of us, is because we have a karam connected to each other. There's nothing outside of that. These karam are ingrained into the way that we live in our lives. And remember I said, every single experience that you had from your birth, you're bringing to this room. And this exchange is because there's a reason for that too. You have your past actions, all those things make a factor here. So what I really want to ask is, now that we've kind of interpreted that in an academic way and brought it towards Sikhi again, what is Sikhi to you? So I know it's such a broad type of thing to write. We're going to have to open it up. Okay, so just type in. So over here, we're just going to brainstorm a few different things, what you think Sikhi means to you in a few words. So it could be like, for example, Sikhi could mean Gurdwara, like if you write Gurdwara. It can be concepts, it could be actions, it could be places. What does Sikhi mean to you? And obviously there's no judging, like we're literally thinking about this aspect of like why everything should be judged, or in a way that we're reflecting on ourselves all the time. Anji.
Lifestyle?
Lifestyle? So in what way is something that's like Sikh? You would classify Sikh? Nitne? Okay, yeah, sure, you could add Nitne. Think about things that are, okay, sure, it's hard because I'm throwing my bias onto you guys. Honesty? Okay. We can have the corner of honesty. We need to fill this up. Make it so it goes all the way down here. Yeah.
Comfort.
Comfort? In what way?
Like it's like whenever there's any like book or anything that I go through, it's like I already know that like Maharaj is gonna be there. Like,
okay.
Like if I have nobody, I just have somebody.
Okay, so you can write source of comfort. Change the source of comfort.
It's more trying to reduce it by discipline of media PD.
Sure. Okay, so you can write media PD and then discipline in brackets. Anyone else? Let's bring it all the way down. Let's bring it all the way down to here. Just throw words.
Longer.
Longer? Okay, we put longer. For some people, that's usually at the top of the list.
Another one, critical thinking.
Critical thinking, okay. Vivek, yeah, so for critical thinking, I put like Vivek in practice. So even that term Vivek, depending on who you ask, it means different things, right?
Fighting oppression.
Fighting oppression, you could have that on. So even the term Vivek, for some people it'd be like, oh yeah, that's the Singh that does kirtan. Right? For other people it might be this act of like only eating like out of sarvla. For some people it might be the way that they see the world. Come on, about two, yeah, let's add two more.
Weapons.
Weapons, yeah. Go ahead.
Foundation.
Foundation? In what way do you mean like foundation of life? Yeah. Or okay. So right like center of life.
I would say history.
History? Okay. Add history as well. Yeah, this is
Prem.
Prem? Okay, yeah, Prem. Okay, so I think, yeah.
Giving your head.
Giving your head? Okay. So like, Sis Qurban. So if I were to say, we take a look at some of these things here, right? We can put it back into the other post. So we have a few different words, a few different concepts, but now I want to ask you, where did you get these ideas from? You threw words, but where did they come from? Why does that word relate to Sikhi to you?
Personal experience.
Personal experience? In which way, like specifically?
For example, like I said, that's something my parents do every day.
Okay.
So that's what I see growing up.
Alright, so this idea of Nityanim, right? So that's something that Virji has seen himself, right? And that's something that he attaches to Sikhi. So that you can see how he's made the connection there? That's a key thing we have to make when we're reflecting on ourselves, especially within Sikhi. Anji, anyone else? Even if it's something you didn't necessarily choose, just something you could probably think like, oh yeah, this is how this ties to Sikhi. For example, the Gurdwara, think of the Asthan, the Darbar Maharaj's court, and how that's evolved throughout the years. I start thinking of like Guru Gobind Singh Ji's Anandpur Sahib Darbar. Then I start thinking of like how like Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj was giving Gurta Gaddi and Hajur Sahib, all of these different things, and then like that's where like Gurdwara is attached to it. Like that itihas, the history that's attached to it, is how we make the connection, right? Honesty. Does anyone want to reflect on this? Anything that like how they tie honesty to Sikhi? Because there's a lot of things where like we take for granted, we just accept. Like we ate Sikhi the vichya, but kada socha nahi hai where it came from, right? It's not to say like they're not, right? Honesty the hai, right? Maharaj talks about sat sandok vicharo. If you talk about sat, it means so many different things.
I didn't say this, but for me, honestly, like it's all throughout Gurbani, right? Like such is written everywhere. Like Gurbani Ji is like true. So that's how I see it. As opposed, like also to be like live honestly, in terms of like honest, like true. Like I see it as true.
Right. Okay, so we can see honesty as being connected to the truth. So if you want to be part of, if you want to embody the truth, you have to be honest. Mm-hmm. So I see Langar and I think of like Maharaj Satya Sauda Sakhi, when Maharaj like took their father's 20 rupiah at that time and then fed all these different sadhus, right? So that's one thing that can make the connection for it. Source of comfort, is there anything you want to add on to that? Like how you connected it? There are tons of areas, but it's like, it's very subjective. Like I could say this is how it's a source of comfort for me.
So I'm the one who told me this, but it's like a lot of Singhs, they like ask for dukh. So it's like, because like you find Maharaj when you're at your lowest. So it's like that's how you find your comfort. That's how you find your bliss. That's how you find your like the Maharaj is your bliss, because when you're at like any point, like I don't know, like just spill your iced coffee or like you lose someone here, it's like it's still dukh, and the only like real person you have with you is Maharaj.
Fair enough. Okay. There's a lot of different layers in that, right? It's not easy to explain how like Maharaj is their source of comfort. It's like an existential like question. You're thinking like, oh, like what is like reality? But ਇਹ ਵੀ ਪੰਥ ਪ੍ਰਕਾਸ਼ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਹੈ, like Nadir Shah, all these different, like Zakaria Khan, they're like hum dukh deve o sukh man. They're like, we give them pain and they accept it as sukh. They see it as pleasure, or they see it as sweet. Maharaj sitting on the Tatitavi, tera kiya meetha lage, right? Guru Arjan Dev Ji Maharaj, when they're giving Shahidi, that's a shabad ਉਹਨਾਂ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਚਾਰਿਆ ਸੀ. So these type of things is like Maharaj, like being connected to you is what gives me peace in my life. Critical thinking, what about Vivek? You know Vivek's community.
Yeah, well, yeah. Come to his program tomorrow at McMac. Kirtan Ona, they're going to explain Rag. So for me, it's two things. One, you have Ityas, but then you also have personal experience, right? You only realize afterwards. You don't have any foresight going into a situation. It's like a hindsight kind of thing.
Right.
But Ityas, Gurbani, and your personal experience, you should be thinking beforehand. That ties into meeting as well, into that discipline of understanding what you're about to do. Because Karmina cooperating. So the action learner, you should be sure that you're going to take the right action.
Yeah, even in the process of like reflection, it's like Maharaj will say like vichar karo.
Exactly.
Apne aap te vichar kita bande khoj dil har roz, right?
Yep.
So like Maharaj is telling us like guy, like banda, like man, dil, dive into your own heart every single day. Just nahi karte, and then like you're gonna get stuck in the world because you're too caught up. Like there's even certain things like burning yourself out. If you don't sit down and reflect and kind of just think like what's going on, you start to burn out in those processes. वो भी बहुत जरूरी है. खास करके I know a lot of you are doing exams. Make sure to take a breather. So weapons, जितने शास्त्र नाम नमस्कार नाम, center of life. So many, I can't think of one in particular. For Prem, Jin Prem ki utan hi prapayo, right? See like these type of things. It's like there's a direct connection to either history or like Gurbani that tells us this, right? Otherwise, like if I didn't have that, then I'd kind of look at it in a very fuzzy type of lens. Like I'm not sure about what it is. It's kind of just like Sikhi is just a like fuzz for me. It's just a blur. I don't really have a big relationship with it. It's just what it is. But then this is what it is for me. So we start to look at all these different things like academic level, right? So like physicists, they have a different explanation for say like the stars. Like why are the stars there in the sky, right? Someone who's I don't know, astrophysicist? No, I guess that's the same thing. Just someone who's a physicist to someone who's to a level of like, say for example, a biologist, they might look at these things in a different lens. But they look at it from different lenses, right? So ATG bahut zaruri hai that like these things, they have a fixed type of kaswati, like we'd say benchmark, standard, right? And what is that standard? We often look towards the Gurbani, Guritahas, and these types of things. So in the next slide, does anyone know what this is?
It's to test authenticity of diamonds.
Yeah, so it's called a diamond tester. There's a video like probably a year ago. There's a guy that just used to go up to people in like malls and check like whether the jewelry was real or not, right? So that makes us kind of reflect, the objective means of measuring. So obviously you use this diamond tester, you can tap it on there, and it's like it's either it's real or it's not. I don't know if how well they work, but just if we think of it that way, then this is how it is. How about our own perception of Sikhi? We just spoke about Itihas, we just spoke about Gurbani. These are the things. Next slide. These are the things that are the diamond tester for Sikhi, right? This is something like straight in the Gur Shabad as well. Andar Hira Lal Bana. So even Maharaj is referring to like the Sikhi and the Shabad as like being diamonds and jewels, right? Maharaj is saying Gur ka Shabad parkha parkhaya. So through the Shabad, that's a true standard of what we see as what is Sikhi or what is a spirituality. Jin Sach Palla, Sach Vakhana, Sach Kaswati Lavane. So I'm not saying this just because, like you should have this standard as benchmark. Maharaj is saying it themselves. That the Shabad is what we should park ourselves, what we should kind of mark as our own standard. Mat veche Ratan Jawahar Manik Jay Gur ki Sikh Suni. We hear this every single day in Japki Sahib. Jay Gur ki Sikh Suni. So the diamonds that exist within your mind, they'll be present there. Meaning, and what this diamond is like, imagine there's like, we're mining, right? And there's like all this like kacha, like ore. So there's like diamonds in like all this rock, there's jewels, all this stuff like that. All of those things around that, those jewels, that's our karam that are bring us away from Maharaj. Once you break all of them down, then all you're left with is the diamonds and the jewels. It's clear, it's a distinction that these are separate from them. So what is our life plan / purpose? Does this look about right to you?
That's the desi plan right there.
That's a desi plan? Born, right? You're born, you don't have anything to do with that, right? It just happens, right? You're going to play as a little kid. And then education, right? After education, we're thinking, like, so we're all at that point, right? Education, then career. Once someone has a career, or it could be, it could be different orders. Then marriage, right? This is the standard. So the next one, kids, retire, death, right? It's like Bhai Jaskaran Singh says in such in a beautiful way. They're like, it's a downward spiral. It seems like life is like and just falling down to the ground. So when you see this, don't you feel like there's a bit more than this to life? That life isn't just this? But all the stuff that's around us, that ore, that like the things that are the rocks, the meteorites, whatever you want to say, they start to affect it. So that gives us a weird perception of what reality is, or even what is existent. What are we to say what the doubt is, or this pain, or this dukh? Is it what we call dukh? If I stub my toe tomorrow, is that dukh? Dukh daru sukh rog pe ja sakta hu nahi, we just read it. That dukh could bring me closer to Maharaj. So is it dukh in its true essence? There's so many things to unpack as a part of this. So what does our diamond tester say about the purpose of life? Maharaj says, again, this is something we read in Rara Sahib as well. Bhai, prabhat manak de huriya, gobind milan ki eha teri bariya. Agar kaaj tera kite na kaam, min saath sangat bhaj ke ho na. Saranjam lag pavja taran kya. And you can, obviously we're not going to read the entire, go back. So the whole thing is, we're going to talk about these different biases and the different positions that make us different. If I was a dog, right, versus a human body, there's a difference. There's a reason why I put human body. That this human body you've attained it. So if we think lowly of ourselves, Maharaj is saying this is such a high state to be in. The highest state we can. We've been blessed with this human body. But how we use it, that makes a difference. Look, there's animals, right? They have friends as well. They have kids, they have they bring a roti and they bring food to their kids. What's the difference between you and them? What's the difference between the human and the animals? Not to say treat them like crap, but to say there's a difference between having a human body, using it for a certain way, versus those animals. We're able to attain the state that transcends our existence in this human life. Gobind milan ki eha teri bariya. Why Baljit Singh, they give a great example. Imagine you're playing a board game, Monopoly, right? Hun teri bariya. It's your turn. It's your turn to play now. This body is the chance. It's that turn that you've been given. Eh teri bariya. Chal hon, it's your move. Go ahead. Agar kaaj tera kita na kaam. Everything else won't do you any good. Imagine if you were to do everything you wanted, right? So this is again going back to the different perceptions. That list of that downhill spiral. Imagine if you were to get all the things you wanted in life, right? If you missed out on this, your life's wasted.
So like the English translation, like chance changes like a lot, right? Instead of turn.
You could see it as chance. You could see it as turn. Obviously, the people that translate this, it's like hard to put that shabad into like one line without going too crazy and like adding so many details from it either. So it's not to say like, I just give up on life, right? Do everything you want to, but realize like these aren't going to do you any good, right? Do all your degrees and everything, get the job you want, but then realize that your true happiness isn't going to come from there. Take it like as a kid, right? You really, 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 really want a toy. You receive that toy, right? So the same thing is with these type of things. You've probably seen it yourself. In high school, your one type of accomplishment was just getting into university or getting into college or whatever the thing is. And your entire destiny depended on that. You're just like, that this is the only thing I'm focused on. You got into university and now you know what the reality is, right? मैं भी कितनी यार 2 डिग्रियां मैं तो कुछ तो होता है मैं like always पता नहीं, right? So those things aren't the source of your happiness. And this goes for anything else on the list as well, right? You get your career as well. You could be depending on even if you want a 9-to-5 job, right? It's not going to give you that happiness in your long term. You're going to get temporary sukh, right? Sada sukh is like the sukh that you're always connected to. So there's been many Gyani Singhs that actually say this. They're like, look, jehda sukh hai, it's not something you have to attain. It's here right now. Jada pehla keh rahe si Maharaj jithe sade naal anga sang gaya. Maharaj is with us right now. It's just a matter of whether you tapped into it or not. Ye cheez hai. Some people will be sitting completely, they could be sitting quiet in a corner and you're thinking like, oh, bada dukhi lag raha hai. But then they're in complete anand in their mind. These are the differences. Vishaya Sukh is like accomplishment, pleasure. As soon as you have the accomplishment, then the pleasure is gone. It's good that we realize this. On to the next one. So the true thing is, all of these different things that make up your biases, this is what ahankar is. This is why I didn't ask in the beginning, what is ego? Because when we say what is ego, we think like, oh yeah, that's my pride, it's my arrogance, and that's what ego is. A lot of people read Homa and just think it's that. But this ego is actually your differentiation between each other. It's your individualized experience. That's what Homa is. So if I'm able to sit right now, for example, I watch hockey. The Toronto Maple Leafs don't make it to the playoffs. I could be so invested emotionally into the Toronto Maple Leafs that right? I've seen it like Italians they didn't make it to the World Cup. So like because they put so much investment there, right? It doesn't have to be that way. They could be indifferent to it. You could play a game of soccer tomorrow, and whoever wins or loses doesn't make a difference to you. You still play. It's not to say you're out of the game. You're still playing them. But the end result, the expectations, you didn't over invest into it. So the same thing in life. If you live your entire life, you could go through all the different things on the list. You could play as a kid. You could, get married. You can have your career. You can have your education. Do all these different things. But once you're in the system, be detached from it. Don't think like, oh, this is my this is just the way that the world is working, and then I have to stay within it. It's like your swayat, meaning your own personal responsibility. Right? There's a difference between that and your spiritual life. Someone can live that entire way and then be detached from the entire world. So Maharaj again, hukma andar sabko, bahar hukum na koe. Nanak hukma jeb bujh jaye, to hum main kahna koe. So if you follow what's the way to actually take away the ego is actually through following Maharaj's hukum. Even that is such a complicated topic. Because what is Maharaj's hukum? We say like, oh yeah, like just following Maharaj's hukum. No, it's like every single thing that those experiences you're bringing to the room, that's hukum as well. The karma that you come out, the karma that you earn in this life, that's hukum as well. So if you feel like, oh, I'm sad someday, and the next day you realize like, oh yeah, like why was I sad over this? That was hukum. All the little things that we have in our life, they're all part of Maharaj's hukum, they're all part of Maharaj's care. If you understand that, then for sort of koi homa nahi rehta. It's this idea that like even the little thoughts that come to your mind, that's also Maharaj. That's also Maharaj's hukum. If you start thinking, there's a Shabad as well, in the Shabad it says that if you think it's in Sukhmani Sahib, if you think it's me that's doing something, then once you keep saying it's me, then you'll be stuck in the cycle of karma. You're going to be destined to be born again. Once you take away that, I know it's such a deep type of concept, but Jaskaran Singh broke it down really easily by saying like, imagine you're in this, the body is like this glass of water. That's the ego. All the water here is like, you could say is the soul, or we say like Atma. That water is not different from the ocean. Right? This is something I'm not like, oh yeah, this guy just pulling it from somewhere. This is in Gurbani mein jo aanda hai, right? We have this glass that separates us. You take away the glass of the ego, and then bas ek de naal ek ho janda. Right? Har jandu ek hai, vichar kachna. Jal de upaj tarangyo jal hi vikasma. That Vaheguru, and then Vaheguru Jiro Bhagateya. So the person that actually walks on this path of Sikhi takes away that ego with Maharaj's kirpa. They're one with Vaheguru. Just like a wave comes out, just like it's given an example here, a wave comes out of the water and goes back into it. Sikhi. This entire thing that we're looking at it is like going outside the parameters of like what Madhya is telling us. It's like we could pull all this thing, Uncle Nita Hakiasi, Tordion Nita Hakiasi. You can go in so many different directions with this. But at the end of the day, Gurbani ne ki kya? Right?
Well, then how do you explain the balance between hukam and karam? Like before it was karmi up and kilu, right? So it's like the classical debate between free will and God's will.
Yeah.
But it's like, so if everything's hukam, that's overly fatalistic. Like I don't need to do anything because everything's hukam. So where's the balance there?
That's the key thing. So even everything being all part of your karam and being all part of hukam, like I don't see any difference between karam and hukam. Those connections that are made there, like the fact that you know about it, that's within karam as well. The fact that you're unaware of it, that's karam, that's hukam as well. The fact that you respond to something, that's part of hukam as well. If you respond in a very like nihilistic type of way or like fatalistic way, saying like, oh, there's no point in doing anything, that's hukam as well. That's again. So this is the same body we're reading every single morning, but we didn't really actually look at what it's telling us. So that's again like we have these default type of things that are given to us based off like our. Say for example, if I was living in India most of my life, I wouldn't really think about philosophy, right? I'd be like, that's it, right? Like that, just coming from a farming background, like we're just gonna do that, like that's it. There's nothing anything bigger than that. But the Maharaj is like we have these thoughts being in the West, right? So even these are like you can see how that's like influencing our thought making or thought decision making, whatever. And yeah, it's like if you look at Gurbani as being like the ultimate, right? It's already telling you there. It's just a matter of like how you perceive it, how you're gonna even how you're interacting with the rest. So there's a lot of like people that when they're told this, when they're actually explained to this, they're like, your karmas have brought you to this place right now that you're even hearing about this. That like this is reality. We can go to the next one. So this one aspect, Gurmukh versus Manmukh. So this is again related to what we're talking about, right? So all these things that are making up your ego, whether you keep them as your first priority and the way that you see the world is different than what Guru Maharaj says. There's a reason why these sunflowers are here, right? Punjabi vich asi ki kehte hai Surjmukhi, right? Surjmukhi is something that you can have in two different aspects. Surjmukhi means this, it means the one that has a face of like this of the sun, right? The rays of the sun kind of look like this, and he will call it Surjmukhi. Another aspect of this is the idea of facing the sun. The sunflower itself, it faces the sun throughout the day. Right? It's just naturally the way it is. So the facing of the sunflower towards the sun is why it's given the name Surjamukhi. But then what about Gurmukh and Manmukh? So I wrote here specifically Gurmukhi and Manmukhi. Gurmukhi is the mind, and this is again I'm separating the mind versus body because this is how we look at it in two different ways. The mind that's focused towards Maharaj, onu Gurmukh sadhya. So like if someone keeps Maharaj's bachans, Gurbani, Gur Itihas first, then they're facing Maharaj. They're facing Guru Sahib. When they, and this is Manmukh, we often look at it very negative, right? Like when Manmukh, I'm trying to think. Yeah, Manmukh Gawaya, Gurmukh Palya, Gurmukh Manmukh Gawaya, or like that. That's the pankti that comes up. That the Gurmukh makes use of this human body, right? And the Manmukh loses it. But it's not like a negative type of thing. It's just saying like, due to their karam, there's some that's more Manmukh, where they keep their ideals, all the things that they've learned from their childhood, as the top priority. Like this is the way that I see the world. So it's kind of difficult here. So it's like this here, Bahar Toon, Beguchia, Karma Vasta Sathai. Manmukh Homa Karmasi, Gurmukh Palapai. So in here it's looking at this, it's like this idea that Maharaj Andar Vasudeva. Maharaj is within you. But you start looking outside. So for example, say tomorrow, like some people who absolutely love basketball, right? They love basketball and LeBron James says there's no God. It'd be like, oh, LeBron James is takiyasi. LeBron James said it, that there's no God. And they're going to be like, no, that's true. That's true. He has a point, right? But it's only because of all that you've been the direction you've taken basketball. You've kept it as like your ball is life, right? And then everything else is just like, well, it doesn't make a difference, right? The same thing goes for like celebrities and whatever, right? People might say like, well, the celebrity did it, so I should be able to do it as well. Or like, oh, India did it, or Jagmeet Singh did it, for like ASV career, right? There's all these different things that come into play in their reality, right? That's why, like, the thing is like emphasizing Gurbani. It's like, what is Gurbani telling you? You can make something. Your father could have told you something. Your chacha could have told you something. Your like masi could have told you something. Your best friend could have told you something. That doesn't make it true. Because like Gurbani will tell you from one way or another, and it's not whether you accept it or not. You'll see it in your own life. But yeah, this is what's reality. Yeah, so go to the next one. So this is again on the same topic: self-orientedness versus awareness of Waheguru. Hukum Rajai. This is now we hear the shabad Hukum Rajai Chalana, right? That comes in Japji Sahib. Bhai Gurdas Ji actually takes and expands upon. Was key to Bhai Gurdas Ji's writings is said to be the Kundi of Gurbani, the key to opening up the art of Gurbani, to understanding what is Gurbani. Hukum Rajai Chalana, Aap Gawai na Aap Janaya. That's a big thing that they say here. Following Maharaj's Hukum. Aap Gawai, meaning letting go of your ego, yourself, as a separate being. It sounds like it's completely crazy, but Bhai Gurdas Ji is saying this. Because in what way can you do that? If someone is so dedicated to Guru Sahib, but all they can think about is Guru Sahib, then there's nothing left in them anymore. Na Aap Janaya, that they don't even accept their own existence. It seems like, oh, this is just like really foreign, or it's just like completely metaphorical. There's people that live like that. They literally don't see themselves as whatever they are in their body. Like this body is like a cloth. Just the same way when a cloth gets ripped, we take it off and put on another one. In 84 lakh that comes in Gurbani, the 8.4 million different cloths now we're given the human one. So all this stuff connects. When we don't hear this in the Gurdwara, we don't hear about this like obviously certain Catholics will talk about this. But a lot of people that are like kind of famous because they have like a huge cult following, like they won't say these different things. But the Gurbani is telling us we just didn't do vichar on it. We didn't contemplate what it's actually telling us. Gur Avades Avesakar Parapakar Vichar Lupaya. So because of this, the Gur Sikhs, when they don't accept themselves, what do? Brahmgyani Parapakar Maha, or Brahmgyani Karibi Samaha, Brahmgyani Parapakar Maha. So like the person that's reached that state, the mind that's reached that state, rather, right? Because when we refer to the body, then we're kind of like looking at it in a different way. We start to say like, wait, this person is more. But it goes something beyond that. It's like your mind harmonizing with Hukam. So then they start to help others in that process. They reach that state in the Fikarna. There's a Gyani Gurvinder Singh, Nangali. They give a great example. They're like, imagine this is all like a game of hide and go seek, right? Akal Pur ke loke hoya. Maharaj is hiding, right? And we're all trying to find the Vaheguru. The one person that finds Vaheguru, Akal Purkh is like, Mera naal yaake bhai, right? It's like, don't tell anyone, it's here. And then that Mahapurush that's connected to Vaheguru, that Gur Sikh or that saint or whatever you want to call it, that has like, become one with the Vaheguru, they give hints to other people that are around them. They're like, look, like they're right here, they're hiding. But if that person starts to play a game of checkers, like there are other people that are also playing hide and go seek. They start to play checkers. They start to play chess. They lost the main point of the entire goal. They're trying to find Vaheguru. They're playing hide and go seek. They started playing another game. Or it's like Mummy no phone la dena, right? Like all these different things. It's just you've been distracted from like what's reality through all the different things there. Like you go back into searching for yourself, you realize, oh, Maharaj is right here all along. So these type of things come into role. They either brought closer to Maharaj or further away. Again, karmi apu apni. You can look at a karam as seeing as its mind, or you can see it's like a game of Monopoly being played. You roll the dice, and like 4 rolls, you have to walk to like Park Place, right? You roll a 5, you have to go to jail, right? It's just the karam that are attached to it. So these type of things are about jewelry, and it's good to, if you do have like, for example, you do have a doubt and say like, well, this doesn't make sense to me. Just read more Gurbani. It's like you're trying to figure out something, and it's like I've only looked at a corner of a map. You haven't looked at the rest of it. Well, obviously it'll start to make sense when you see the rest of the picture. You need the essence of what Gurbani is trying to tell you. So common misperception. So it is the nature of Waheguru. So loga paramana pula pai khalik khalak khalak ma khalik pura hai usra bithai. So Maharaj, like this, we look at the Abrahamic faiths, right? Enanu kuch mara kehndi garni is not to diss anyone or any type of faith, but the way that it's traditionally being seen, and this means like akal purukh, right? Is that it's separate from the creation. That like, oh, God will meet you in heaven somewhere, right? Sikhi doesn't say that. Like again, Bhai Satpal Singh, they say like, look, they're like, asi sare kehndi uppar wala, par andar wala kan kadam milani hai, okay? Right? There's a whole lot of, you can look at different traditions that look at it in a different way, right? Baba Bulle Shah as well, I'm trying to remember. They say, Ja ja vadde mandir masiti, kade apne aap vich vadya nahi. That you go to mosque, you go to like your mandir, you go to Gurdwara, and you expect that like that's it. Like if I go there and just do the act there, right? Like it's a ritual for you to go to like a place, like a religious place, but you never entered yourself. Meaning you never reflected on what's being taught to you. The same like a Muslim could read there, like there's like the beginning of the Shahada, like La ilaha illallah. Sorry for saying it, but it's literally saying that there's no God except the one God, right? You don't have to read the rest of it, which is like, you know, but that's still the truth. If they reflect on that, and then they're like, oh, like they can reach the same state, right? So the creators within the creation, that's the difference. The Abrahamic faith will see that there's a God somewhere else, right? And then in Sikhi, Maharaj is saying like Maharaj Sade Nal Vasdeya, and they're outside of the creation, but in the creation as well. So again, this is another leaflet that Basics of Sikhi has. It's called the Akal Guru and Bani leaflet. So it's to show that Maharaj is thing. Maharaj in their Sarir is one, Maharaj in their Gurbani is one, and then Akal Purukh outside of the entire creation, right? That it's not dual. There's Maharaj is just one. I think we go back to the last slide. So the huge thing that I want to emphasize here was like non-dualistic. So like there's nothing without Vaheguru. Like there's this idea that Maharaj is like, even that term like ik, people do like katha of ik by going like hours and hours. You can do katha of ik for like days. You can do an entire year of katha of ik. So it just shows how expansive it is, because whenever you refer to anything in this world, like this chair, it's a Maharaj Ithvi Vasudeya. This bottle, Maharaj Ithvi Vasudeya. Jale Hari, Thale Hari, Iha Hari, Aha Hari. Maharaj is everywhere, but it's just this duality where we've kind of stopped ourselves. Like these things come in front of us, and then we stop thinking about that Maharaj is Angasang. Maharaj is with us now. So how do you go to the next one? So in here, Maharaj is coming to us in this Maya, in this entire world, this creation. Sada Udar Karne. So Maharaj has created, like you could say, a game, right? Like the same thing I was talking about, that game of hide and go seek. So Maharaj also comes as the helper as well, where they take on the form of Guru Sahib. Guru Sahib is coming to tell us, but it's Akal Purukh themselves, right? And they leave behind us Sam Gurbani, Turki Bani. So there's no difference between this, right? Because then we start to think of like that's dual. That like Guru Sahib is different, Akal Purukh is different. Then that doesn't work out. Doesn't make any sense. But Hega Ekkoya, right? In Gurbani many times it comes Gur Parmeshwar Ekko Jan, Vaho Vaho Bani Nirankar hai. Right? All these things come over there. If we reflect on, if I were to say anything, reflect on Mool Mantra. Mool Mantra bahut dunga hai. It's not just describing Akal Purukh. It's describing yourself as well. Haji, next one. So peace and suffering. Jo sab ko chahe sada saranam ki le. Kaho nanak ki sun re mana durlabh maan ke de. If you want true happiness, go to Maharaj's Sharan. And the Sharan is so like, it's so loaded as well, because it's like, what does that mean? Satsangat vich jao. Satsangat, what does even that mean, right? Because that's even loaded in itself. Satsangat kaisi jani hai, jitha eko naam bakhani. Where the one naam is being spoken about. And again, Jaikar Kirat Akhiya Karte Ka Hoi Vichar. We hear in Soil Asar that place jithe Kirtan hundaya, jithe Katha hundiya, Vichar hundaya, all these different things, naam jap ho reya, that's Satsangat. So going to that, even this place right now, if we know Maharaj is Hajar Najar in front of us, Maharaj is present in front of us, then we can say, Hanji ke Maharaj sade darbar vich hai. So there's no sense of, there's like an eternal peace, right? For example, if I feel thirsty, I drink some water. That goal has been achieved by drinking that water. Right? If I go and say I have cravings for like pizza, and then I go eat pizza, that the entire goal was just around the goal, the entire piece was around the goal, and it's gone, right? So that's why the things that distract us most from what's reality are the Panjarikat. What we always see as Panjarikat is like evil and like this type of thing, which they are in a way of like how we perceive them, that they're like our worst enemies. Meaning these things will keep us in the most duality. Je koi kaam de magar bhajda hai, je koi krodh magar bhajda, meaning someone goes through lust, there's a sense of duality there. Because they start thinking like I need to focus on something, get the rust of that, get the taste of that, and then start to and that rust will give me sukh, right? It's like everyone wants sukhati prapti, everyone wants peace in their life, but they're looking for it on these temporary places. But the things such as anger, these are places that kind of like make you go further and further. It's like we have all these jewels and stuff like that, but we keep throwing more dirt on top of them. It's like instead of going and taking away that dirt, we're adding more dirt onto it, and then we'll never be able to find ourselves. So once you kind of skip those and you say like, well, actually, I don't really want this. I realize like what's the nature of it, that it's a temporary piece. Then you skip it, and you're like, oh, chalo, I'll stop it. Let me see what's ahead of this. And this complete skipping and realizing this, you start to have this yearning for the reality. You start to have this kitch that like, oh Maharaj, I want the such, right? I want the truth. I want what is the real peace. And to see Mangadeya, you start begging, then there's shabds that talk about that as well, right? Maharaj says, "Main prem na chakya mere pyare, aao kare, mantra sanana bhajji mere pyare, nit aas kare." And Maharaj, I haven't tasted your love, and this love is another representation of that ek of Vaheguru. The nature of Vaheguru is love. Jantar tatra disa visa hue phaile on the raat. That wherever I see, Maharaj is pervading with love. So, main prem na chakya, I haven't tasted your love, Maharaj. Nit aas kare. मैं प्रेम ना चाहके मेरे प्यारे पाओ करे, that may I love. Mantra sanana bhoji mere pyare, that my desires, all those things, those little small different pieces that I'm looking for, those desires for that, they haven't stopped. Maharaj, nita ask kare, that daily I hope that you take them away. This is a Gurbani that's telling you all this, right? So that sukh we want to look is for Sada Sukh. The Sada Sukh is the form of Vaheguru themselves. That true peace. It's like merging with Vaheguru, then there's nothing else left. Tusi jo marji karo. Right? This will end a lot of conversations with even Panthik Muslim. Like issues within the community, they end when you realize the essence of the true thing. It's like someone says like, sharab nahi peeni, right? Example, right? Kitthe likha? What does it say? There's Gurbani that speaks against it, right? But when you realize the essence of like, that was the only reason someone drinks is to get that temporary peace, right? And realizing that there's a bigger picture than that, then they wouldn't even it's like not even in the question anymore. So it's like a lot of stuff Maharaj tells us and gives us this rest so we can get to this idea of understanding. It's like we're in the most spiritually best environment for us to connect to Maharaj. So all these different things come up. Next one. So this is the last thing that I want to leave you off with, because this might have given you some sort of interest into doing your own inquiry, to doing more Khoj into Gurbani, or it might have made you completely confused. Right? There's different aspects of how you take it. But one thing I want to leave you off with, because we kind of say like how do we connect to Maharaj then? What do we do? Right? But take it like this. A doctor, a mechanic, and a Gursikh walk into a film theater, right? I don't know what the closest film theater is here, but they say they go to see, I don't know, Harry Potter, right? A doctor looks at the film, and say for example there's a car accident in the movie, right? The doctor has 12 years plus of all this medical knowledge with them. So even if they didn't want to, all they see is like, oh yeah, this guy broke his femur, this guy broke his, this, oh he's dead. Like just, it's ingrained in them. It's just so there, even if they didn't want to, they've been studying medical knowledge their entire life. It's going to come up whether in their average task. The mechanic, he sees a car crash and he's like, oh, that car is totaled, right? Well, the brake failed, oh yeah, the car's brakes failed, the steering wheel popped off, all these different things. Even if he didn't want to, he saw it as that way. Because in this, the amount of years and dedication, all of that mental effort was exerted towards mechanicy, right? To doing all this car repair and doing all that stuff, right? So Gursikh ki karda hai? Gursikh roj bani padda hai, roj jap karda hai. When they do all these things for years and years, and what happens is what ends up happening is all the different things that you learned in your life, all those misperceptions, they get unlearned, and Gurbani is there at your forefront. Whenever you walk into a room, all you can think of is like a Gurbani reference. Someone turns off that light, and then you're like, oh, Namo Andakari. Because in Jafsa Mara says that, oh, I bow down to the one that's the causer of darkness. Someone says, someone turns on the light, Namo Teja Teja, that you are the form of light in this room as well. Even if they don't want to, it's just there. It just keeps going to their mind. They start to see Maharaj everywhere. We hear it in Rara Sahib as well. Antar Gur Aradhana. Pehla Andar Maharaj nu dhyan aaya. Jehva Jap Gur now. Because there's so many ways to take your 5 senses and bring them back to Maharaj. But your 5 senses have been misperceiving the world, or they create your mind to do something else. Or they develop other conclusions based on that. Antar Gur Aradhana, Jehva Jap Gur now. Netri Sat Gur Pekhana. Seeing Guru Sahib. Sravani Surana Gurunam, listening to Maharaj's name. So all these things, Maharaj is telling you all this stuff. And it's not to say like, oh, you're a bad person for it, or you're a good person for it, or whatever the case may be. But you're hearing about it now, and then hopefully it at least start some inquiry, thinking like, what does Gurbani actually say? My friends may say like, oh, see, Akarna, O Karna, right? And that might be a reality. Like, I'll give you one example. This happens to me quite a bit. I go to a program where I know all the Singhs there, right? All I could think was like, oh, I haven't seen this Singh in a long time. I'm going to have this conversation with them. The purpose that I was there to come into the Darbar was to, completely put my down on Maharaj. But I can't, because I've just been thinking about like all this social type of things. So like if the guy just start talking about like a football game the last day, I can't change that environment. I can't tell him like, oh, tu chup kar, jaisi gurdwara sahib aaye. Because like I'm so socially inclined to do that, right? But those things will make a difference too. So it's like, it's not just like reflecting. It's like reflecting and then taking action. And some people, they lose friends this way too, unfortunately. Sometimes the Sangha grows together in this way as well. It's not to say like, oh, you guys can't go play hockey or whatever. But like find a way to like kind of like take that and turn it into like something that could be like Sikhi as well. Like I remember we play soccer in like Brampton, and like we booked the soccer center and like every Saturday then go play. While the Singhs are playing, it's not like, oh yes, we'll have like some kirtan or something playing on, and then once we're off the pitch, we start doing vicharan with each other. It's not even something we planned out; it just happens, right? So like you have to realize your Sangha makes a huge influence. What you want to do is this: you want to see Maharaj everywhere. You want to connect to the truth, as so he sort of saw your breaths are precious. And I say this because I've seen in my own life people wasting their life. I've seen them pass away with regrets at the end of their life. So I know it's a lot to take in, but at least do this. Develop your inquiry towards Gurbani. To see, khoj karo. Reflect on Gurbani. Make a personal relationship with Gurbani. And then watch it make wonders in your life. इतनी बेनती जी पोचा क्रॉस करने की बात की Any questions additional to? Sare kaam hai?
Maybe we can open the floor to like just a general Q&A.
Sure, yeah, we
Okay
can do
with
that. There's something that anyone needs clarification with? Again, maybe I might not be able to may not be the person that can clarify for you, but we could give it a go. Do you feel like it was helpful? In what way? Yeah.
Like I never really look into the perspective of how you said, like, or like someone turned off the light, turn on the light. Like I would just be like, oh, okay, the lights are off. But like the fact that like a person is that inclined to think that way, and like it's just so natural.